Hello everyone, this is Hakaym and welcome back to another episode of Funday Sunday. We kind of have a shorter battle today, but it was very exciting at the end, and I guess really demonstrates kind of the meta right now in World of Warships. Let's actually go ahead and take it to teams, and maybe you'll understand what I mean meta of World of Warships right now. On our team, we have a Kurfürst, Yamato, FTG, Alabama, and Rochelle. New Orleans, Hipper, Gearing, Z52, Yu Yang, Yugamo, and Lo Yang. On the enemy team, there is a Montana, Yamato, FDG, 2 Bismarcks, a Baltimore, New Orleans, Gearing, Shimei, Kaza, Yu Yang, Chungmu, and a Z23. Do you kind of see what's a little bit off about this? Both teams have about 5 battleships, and both teams have 5 destroyers with 2 cruisers in the middle. And that's kind of how World of Warships at the moment is, and it's not particularly fun because you get these very stagnant battles. I'm not saying that's impossible, but generally you get these very stagnant battles with battleships, and you can be very well overwhelmed by enemy destroyers, since there's not a lot of cruisers that can actually pick them off, because cruisers are technically designed to pick off enemy destroyers. They're designed to counter destroyers. So without not having a lot of cruisers available, the destroyers have more of a run. Now obviously, and friendly destroyers can obviously counter enemy destroyers and vice versa, but for the most part it's generally going to be ran by destroyers, and battleships are going to be a little bit more hesitant to actually push out. As you will see with our team is going to be very conservative in this battle. And yes, it is a tier 10. Yes, I'm in a tier 8. It's not particularly fun. Granted, especially due to the fact that they do have a Montana, a Yamato on the enemy side. So I mean, it's just not very fun when you're a tier 8. And I'm not saying a tier 8 can't do much in a tier 10 battle. I've seen tier 8 essentially win the battle for the team, but it is very much difficult. And as you can see, the enemy team have just lost their Baltimore, and that Baltimore would have been extremely beneficial for the enemy team because it has radar. We also have radar. We also have a New Orleans, and we have a Hipper. I mean, granted, the Hipper does have Hydro, which is beneficial, but for the most part, the more, I guess you say, more key ship is going to be the New Orleans with its radar. Since the enemy team have just lost their Baltimore, our destroyers have a little bit easier time having fun, I guess you could say. But at the exact same time, we're also down a ship. There's actually a AFK Yamato, and looky there, there's Shimikaze Torps. Yeah, I think the Shimikaze probably could have done this better, if I'm to be perfectly honest. He probably could have dropped those torpedoes a little bit better. Maybe he thought the Yamato was actually alive, but who knows. So at the moment, we are at an advantage. We have 2 caps. The enemy team has only 1, and we are a ship ahead, but obviously we are down our top tier battleship, and that's a battleship with the highest caliber guns in the game. We do have a Geary that's coming over to try to assist, which is extremely beneficial, but at the exact same time, I don't think he is going to be that helpful for our team. Now we also have a Z52's low on health. As you can see, there's a lot of tier 10s in this battle, and with the fact that there's still so many destroyers left alive, a lot of our battleships, as you can see, are sitting currently in the back, and there we've just lost our Yamato to the enemy Montana. So yes, things aren't looking particularly well. Granted, we are ahead to ship. The enemy team have lost a destroyer, so at the moment things are looking good for us, but we have lost our tier 10. Granted, he wasn't really alive and capable. So that's kind of how it is for higher tier gameplay. It's very stagnant. I'm not saying for every single battle, but for the most part, especially the high tiers, it's very, very stagnant. Granted, you could see like Kerr first and even Montana. Yamato, very rarely would you ever see it actually push in quite heavily. And that's just due to the fact that there's destroyers, and destroyers have torpedoes, and that can be devastating to any battleship. And there we have just lost our Hipper, kind of out forward, but he was out forward. And yes, I'm well aware we're actually kind of in the back. And that's kind of how it is at the moment, because the enemy team's actually doing a really good job. You can see that they're actually starting to push in. Their Montana and their Yamato are starting to push in. So they're doing a really good job pushing in and providing support with their destroyers. Our battleships, and yes, that includes me, we're sitting a little bit further back. And that's not helpful for our destroyers at all. Our destroyers need our assistance. They need the bigger caliber guns to do something against the enemy battleships, because now we are down 2 ships. We have lost B, and at the moment the enemy team's doing a really good job pushing in. And here's one nice thing about the Rochelle. The Rochelle is a fast battleship. All her main armament is in the front, and that is extremely beneficial. She does have secondaries. Granted, the secondaries are not the greatest in the world. They're more in the rear, and you have to show a little bit more of an angle just to get your secondaries available. But our team has to do something. We are down in points, down in a ship, and we need to do something. So I am actually going to try to push in, try to combat, especially against this New Orleans. This New Orleans needs to die. That is another radar cruiser, which could possibly radar our destroyers. So he definitely needs to die as quickly as possible. Now, the Rochelle's armor is decent. It does have 32 millimeters at the bow, but even a Yamato can obviously overpin that. So you do have to be careful. It does have a fairly big citadel, which is not the greatest. And this New Orleans actually does a really good job. He does switch to AP. Granted, he doesn't actually get that big of a hit, but you can see I'm actually trying to be a little bit careful, because there is a Yamato, a Montana to my right, so I don't want to show a lot of side to them, but at the exact same time, they're getting into a stationary position where they can't really get a bigger angle, especially once I get into B. There's not much they can do. So, finally pushed in, gonna take out this New Orleans. That's a kill back from the enemy team, and at the moment I should be safe to get around behind the island. The enemy battleships shouldn't be able to get my side, and with the speed of the Rochelle does mean that we can get around fairly quickly. Now we do have a battleship and a Shimikaze versus a Gearing. Gearing should be able to deal with that, but Yamato is now in a very stationary position. That's the big issue with Yamato, is it's, yes, strong, capable, but show a broadside to another battleship and you get citadeled. Granted, he was low on health. I will fully agree with that, but that is Yamato down. That has pulled our team ahead, and this is actually a good example of why there are certain times you actually need to push. Our team needs to push. Our team's not really doing anything. They're very, very stagnant. As you can see, we do have a few battleships, especially the German battleships, sitting a little bit further back. Granted, there is obviously Yu Yang. I am most concerned about him, so I'm going to obviously focus him. Now, I do have also manual secondaries on my guns, but once again, these secondaries are not the greatest in the world. But at the moment, slowing up and take my time, because this Yu Yang may or may not have torpedoes. I really don't want to chance any possibility with the fact that he might have torpedoes. Guns are reloaded. Looks like he might try drive-by, but right there is one kill. We only used one gun. That was efficient enough to kill him. Montana is showing its broadside, and once again, really good example of why you sometimes need to push, and the Rochelle does a really good job. Unfortunately, Gearing is now to the north of us, and obviously he probably has torpedoes up. So we're going to try to hopefully trick him. Maybe he thought we were going full speed. It was probably a very dangerous launch because there was a Montana just right there. Let's see. Can we at least possibly do some damage? Unfortunately, angle was too steep against this Montana, so his guns actually did very minimal amount of damage to us. But with that gearing, knowing he drops his torpedoes is no longer a threat. And at the moment, I probably just need to try to stay clear of the Montana. Probably need to stop showing him my side as much as I am. But at the exact same time, good example of why you need to push. Because at the time, the enemy team were very stationary. They were hunkered down in a good position. And me pushing in definitely broke that up. And I think if our battleships down south had actually pushed in, probably would have taken this out a little bit easier. But hey, we got the gearing. But unfortunately, I am going to go down just to being on fire. But the Montana should go down here in a moment. I think he is going to get burned alive or possibly get shot at from the curve first. Don't know which, but unfortunately we go down. But with that push, we actually managed to actually help save our team. Who knows what would have happened had I not done that. I'm not saying this is a heroic action, but it was needed. It was very much needed because our battleships were so stagnant in the back that they weren't really doing anything beneficial for our team. And it just was not a great strategy. Not a great strategy. Yes, I understand there's a lot of destroyers in that battle, but at the exact same time, just being at the rear doesn't really help your destroyers out when they're out front battling the enemy destroyers with support from the enemy battleships. So yeah, try to support your destroyers. I mean, especially in this meta of the game at the moment where it's essentially destroyers and battleships. Support your destroyers. You gotta love them. You gotta take care of them, because if you take care of them, they'll take care of you. I have no idea where I was going with that. But anyways, this is going to be it for this episode of Funday Sunday. Hopefully you guys enjoy that rampage I went in. That was actually very fun when I was playing it. Very fun indeed. But anyways, if you like what you saw, hit the like and subscribe button. You guys have a great and fantastic day. Zai Jen.